Hello, good evening, all of you, and welcome to a new episode of Arguably the Reading Quest. I am Nishant. Based on my talks with some of my friends in French literature from India, there's a term that have been used these days in French writing to designate a class of French writing. That term is called extrême contemporain, which in English can be translated as either extremely contemporary or ultra contemporary writing. But what is contemporary writing actually? Contemporary, as I have researched, what I know is that contemporary writing takes into account, when it comes to literature, writing of close to 40 years. Contemporary history takes into account a writing of 50 years. Contemporary history, insofar as France is concerned, starts after the French Revolution, that is in the year 1789. So contemporary history in France is considered after that period. But contemporary can also be said of one's own time. For example, we can say Shakespeare's contemporary, or Aristotle's contemporary, or let's say Charles Dickens' contemporary. But the ultra contemporary writing, strictly speaking, spans up to a period of only 10 years, a decade, not more than that. So I have decided to introduce you to newer writings, but a decade will be too shorter a time. So I believe I'll club under this the ultra contemporary writing series that I have started. This is the second episode of that. Of all the writings of 21st century, largely fiction. So here I'll introduce you to some of the writers that definitely matter in the larger cultural and linguistic and literary landscape of the postmodern world of 21st century, and why they are great and one of their writings. So this is the second episode. So let me introduce you to a writer, Jenney Erpenbeck from Germany. Her book is Kairos. Kairos by Jenney Erpenbeck. So this has been awarded the International Booker Prize. The first writer to have been awarded, to have won the International Booker from Germany, is Jenney Erpenbeck, a very powerful writer, I must say. So before I broach upon her writing, let me read from the back cover of what critical reviews she has got. So this Kairos is published at Granta, and it has been called a book of the year by the Times, Guardian, Telegraph, and Sunday Times. So you can imagine. Spectator calls it subtle, richly layered, densely elusive, and hugely ambitious. Kairos is as an impressive achievement. Telegraph calls it there's a jealousy, deception, surveillance, cruelty, pulsing with emotion. It is a beautiful, upsetting work. The New York Times says Erpenbeck is amongst the most sophisticated and powerful novelists we have. Clinging to the undercarriage of her sentences like fugitives are intimations of Germany's politics, history, and cultural memory. So the book starts somewhere in Berlin. It's a story around Berlin on 11 July 1986. The two protagonists meet by chance on a bus. She's a young student and he is older and married, perhaps 33 years, older to her. Theirs is an intense and sudden attraction, fueled by a shared passion for music and art and heightened by the secrecy they must maintain. But when she betrays him with a colleague, the relationship takes a darker turn. Just as the Berlin Wall begins to crumble, ushering in a new era whose great gains also involve profound loss. Just let me read it. What New York Times, what Indian Express reports in its editorial. I hope you are aware that the International Booker Prize is awarded for, the single finest writing of the year that has been translated into English, and that must be published from the UK or Ireland in particular. So it has to be translated in English. No doubt the translator Michael Hoffman has also done a wonderful, wonderful job. So this is what the Indian Express writes, and I quote verbatim. So her novels work with the guilt and the shame, the violence and the horrors of the past, recognizing its imprint on the crisis of the present, be it migration or the rise of authoritarianism. In Greek, the word kairos implies an awareness of a moment of crucial change. For the writer Jenney Erpenbeck, it would be the fall of the Berlin Wall in November 1989, when all the certainties she has held close to her through her life in East Germany turned into ephemera. Ephemeral is something that is fleeting and vanishing. She was 22 at the time, a university student in a family of writers. It would mold the kind of writing Erpenbeck would turn herself to. A timekeeping of the modern European jetzeist, her fiction gathering stories of all that gets lost in translation: political systems, borders, ideologies, love, lives, and innocence. It is an arc that embraces Kairos too, her fourth novel, whose English translation by Michael Hoffman has won this year's International Booker Prize. It makes Erpenbeck the first German writer to win the award, as I told you, strengthening her position as one of the contemporary Europe's most influential writers and a possible contender of the Nobel Prize in Literature. Possible contender. So, from the house by the lake in Brandenburg in her novel Visitation in the year 2010, that becomes the unwitting witness to the political calamities of the 20th century, Europe, to her novel Go and Gone, published in the year 2015, where a professor attempts to help a group of migrants to remedy his own ignorance of their plight, to Kairos, where a love affair between a young woman and a married academic turns toxic in the backdrop of the fall of the Berlin Wall, the political projects onto the personal in Erpenbeck work, its grand design whittled down to how it impacts individuals' lives. Like a miniaturist, she zooms in on the details to tease out the big picture of a changing European order. Her preoccupation with the minute of history, German and continental, and her recognition of the conflicting nature of truth make Erpenbeck a voice quite unlike any other, one unafraid to meet history at odd angles. So Kairos begin in the late 1980s Berlin, a few years before the wall came down. So the more you know about the Soviet Union, Germany, the Cold War, the more you will glean the elusive, the metaphorical parallels and references between the torrid love affair at the center of the plot and the year leading up to the end of the split between East and West Germany. I particularly like those books that have a prologue and an epilogue well written. So the book starts with the quote, "Will you come to my funeral?" question mark. We know almost immediately that this is seemingly a conversation between two lovers when the love affair is seemingly apparently coming to an end. And the book starts with that. One of my favorite quotes here is, while he was living with Katharina in the strange apartment, he took a lot of trouble fitting her out, her Katharina, provided her with everything that made him feel at home. Bach, Beethoven, Brecht, Busch, Chopin, Ilzer, Giotto, Goya, Grünewald, Hacks, Kafka, Lenin, Thomas Mann, Marx, Mozart, Neher, Steinbeck, Verdi and Robert Walzer. I wonder why Hermann Hesse and Robert Musil are missing. Here. In alphabetical order, order is the fear of disorder. A kind of fear, his too. He was just looking for a more attractive mirror for himself in her young flesh. In his solitude, someone who can answer back to him. Or did he really share all that out of love? She was the cause of his banishment. Love, love, love. He says to himself. All at once, the word seems quite empty. So this is one powerful novel, guys. One of my personal favorites from the short list. novel and finally awarded the International Booker Prize by Jenney Erpenbeck. I am on Instagram as well, guys. Very recently, I have created a profile with the same name, arguably the Reading Quest. So please do visit my Insta profile as well. If you've still not liked, shared, and subscribed my YouTube channel, arguably the Reading Quest, please do that. Happy reading, guys. Thank you so much.